here again. Today we're going to be learning how to make a lunch bag. So welcome to the virtual video, virtual class. And what are you going to be needing today to make your lunch bag? So you need a fabric. So today I'm using a cotton fabric, but it's actually really thick cotton, not super thick, but it's really thick. So if you're using a cotton fabric that is not so thick, you can decide to use a fusible interfacing, so you can have a little bit of rigidity to your project. So what are you going to need? You're going to need your fabric, and the measurement for my fabric today is 12 inches on the width and 27 inches on the length. So we need this piece, and then I need these strips, which are 12 inches by 2 inches. I have two of them. Both are 12 inches by 2 inches, and then I made this into a small tube already that I'm going to be using as a loop for the button that I'm going to be using for this. So this, I'm going to put this on the side because I made this into a tube already. So I'm going to make this into a loop later on and then attach it on the project. So after you've laid out your fabric and you cut your measurements already, so when I finish this and you see the size, you can judge if you want this size or you want a bigger size. But I will not recommend that it goes smaller than this, because this is like ideal lunch bag. But if you want it to be bigger, that's actually up to you. So you can make it bigger if you want. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this out inside of the fabric facing me, and I'm going to put this strip on one end. So I'm putting this on the short end, on the width of both projects. That's why I have two. So one goes on this side, the other one goes on the other side. So I'm working with this one first. So lay out your fabric, right side facing the table and the wrong side of the inside of the fabric is facing you, and you lay this strip right on top of it, right side also facing the fabric. The right side of the main fabric is facing the table, so this right side of this one is facing the wrong side of your main fabric. So make sure you align it properly. So when you lay this out on both pieces, the wrong side is what you're going to be seeing. So I'm seeing the wrong side of my small strip, and I'm seeing the wrong side of my big fabric. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch this all the way down, and then I'm going to turn it the other way and stitch it again. So for this, I can decide to add this strip that I'm going to be using for the button. I can add it to either this side or this side. They are both the same measurement, so I can add it to any side. So since this is like is 12 inches, if I want to add the strip to this side, I'm going to take measurement of this. This is 12 and the middle is 6. So I'm just going to mark where the middle is, and that's where I'm going to add the strip. So like I said, I can decide to add a strip on this side or this side. It doesn't really matter. So I fold the strip. Let's assume I'm going to add it on this side. I fold the strips this way, so it goes into like a loop. It makes like a loop on the inside, and then I had it right in the middle of the project. So I can just pin this down right now before I put the strip right on top of it. So yeah, that is pinned down, and now I can put the strip and stitch it down. So my stitch allowance is going to be ½ inch. Make sure it's ½ inch. And then I'm just going to stick it. So when I get to where the loop is, I'm going to take out the pin and go over the loop 2 or 3 times to secure it. So when you get to where the loop is, just make a back stitch about 2 or 3 times. That's going to be fine. And then we continue the stitch. So now that this is done, I cut the thread, and then this one I'm just going to turn this. Now I can turn the project to the right side and fold this right on top of it. So what I'm going to do now is just fold this one time. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing. Fold it one time and then fold it again on top of my first stitch. And now I'm going to stitch this down. So you're giving it a double fold. Once you turn the project on the right side, you're giving it a double fold, and then you can stitch it down. So right now when I'm stitching, I'm going to make sure that my stitch is very close to the edge of my of the project. I'm going to make sure that my stitch is super close to the edge. So when I get to where my loop is, or when I'm close to where my loop is, I want the loop to come up. I want it to face up. So I'm just going to lift it up so I can see it right here on this side. And then I'm going to go over. So when you get to where the loop is, you have to be very careful. Just go really slow because it's really thick at this edge and you might damage your needle. So just go as slow as possible. Yeah. So now let me show you guys what I have. This is what I have. The loop is facing up. If I did not raise it up, the loop is going to be facing down this way. But because I raised it up when I was stitching, that's why it's facing up this way. And this is what I want. This is exactly what I want. So this is the front. This is the front. I can see the loop right here. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing for the second side, except that the second side doesn't have a loop. So I'm going to turn this to the wrong side. The inside of the fabric is going to be facing me while the right side is facing the table. Put this in the same direction. The right side of the fabric of this piece is going to be facing the wrong side of the piece that is on the table. And now I can just stitch all the way down. Stitch. Make sure it's properly aligned. Now I can stitch. Like I said before, for this I don't have a loop, so I don't need to worry about putting the loop in the middle or anything. All I'm going to do is just turn the project, and then the right side of the project is facing me right now, and then I fold this 2 times. Fold it one time and then fold it again and stitch it down. So this side is a little bit easier. When you're stitching, make sure that the stitch is close to the head. Okay. So now this is all done also. And now I'm going to fold the single fabric so the 2 ends meet. So I'm going to fold both into half and make sure that the 2 ends are aligned. So once I aligned the two ends, the next thing I'm going to do now is to stitch down the two sides, this side and this side. I'm going to stitch both sides down. I'll do the same thing for the other side. Make sure I align it properly and then stitch it down. So now let's turn this right side out to see what we have. This is what we have for now, but we're not done yet. So this is what I have right now. We're not done yet. We're still going to turn it to the wrong side and finish it up. So to finish this up, right now I turn it to the wrong side and my hand is inside. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make this into a triangle, the edge into a triangle, this way. So I'm going to try to align this. So this line right here, the stitch line right here, falls right in the middle of the whole project. So if you can't find where the middle is, if you know that it might be a little bit difficult for you to find the middle, what you can do is you can press this. So when you press and it's straight, you're going to have like a iron mark right in the middle. But because I have this fabric as a line right there, I don't know if you guys can see it right there, there's a line. So I can use that line as my middle. So I don't need to press it. But if you press it, you're going to have like a line all the way down. And then you know where the middle is. Another thing you can do is if you are in a hurry and you don't want to press it, just crease the edge with maybe your finger. You can actually use a finger or you can use your scissors to just make a little crease on at the bottom right there, and you're gonna have like a line on the fabric. That way you can try to get the center line for your fabric. So once you have that, align the center line with your stitch line right here. Align both and then it's gonna form like a triangle. So once you have this triangle, take 2-inch measurement from the tip of the triangle. So this is the tip of my triangle. I'm taking 2-inch measurement, which is like all the way here, and I'm going to make a stitch, a straight stitch across this triangle on that 2-inch measurement that I made. So I have my 2-inch measurements and I'm going to make a straight stitch. I'm going to do exactly the same thing for the second side also. So I have one side all done. I'm gonna do exactly the same thing for the second side. Just put my finger in and then align the crease line with my stitch line. So once that is done, I can take measurements of my 2-inch, put a mark on it, take measurements of my 2-inch, put a mark, and then stitch across. So when you're doing this, make sure that your fabric is properly aligned, else it's going to be a problem when you finish stitching. Yep. So if you're using a fabric that is going to fray out, I suggest that at this stage you should make a zigzag stitch on the edges, or you just serge the edges. So I'm going to leave these pieces inside. I'm not going to cut them off, but this is my choice. I'm leaving it by choice. You can decide that I don't want to leave it, it's going to be bulky, I'm just going to cut it off. But either ways, it's still going to work. So I'm leaving mine. I don't want to cut it off. So now this is what I have. I'm pretty much done right now. All I need to do is just iron this and this together, and then I'm going to have my, you know, this envelope that you use to like take your lunch to work. That is exactly what we're trying to imitate right here with this. So instead of using a brown envelope one time and then you throw it out in the garbage, you can just use this instead of the brown envelope. So this is what I have right now, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the button. So to attach the button, I'm going to straighten it out, and then I want to have like a fold right here at the top this way, and then the button goes in right there. So I'm going to put a mark on where I want my button to be. So I have a mark right here. I know this is where my button is going to be, so that when I want to close this, it's going to be like a fold this way, and then I can button it right there. So this is my button right here. I have my needle and thread. And now I'm going to fix the button. So when you want to fix a button, you start from the inside. So you just basically push the needle into the fabric and then push it into the button. Then you go back into the fabric and do exactly the same thing again. Push the needle out right through the hole of the button. So you can repeat this step like 2 or 3 more times, so you can secure the button perfectly before you tie a knot and cut the thread. I would suggest you repeat it like 3 times, so you're sure that your button is secured. So now that's the 3rd time. I'm just gonna tie a knot, and to tie a knot, I'm just gonna push this needle through one of the threads that I made, and then I'm going to push the needle inside this loop and just pull. It's so easy to tie a knot, and then pull. So the knot, when you tie 2 times, I'm pretty sure it's secured enough. And now we're done with this project. All we need to do now is just iron this so it can look nice. So I'm going to iron the sides, and it's going to look just like your envelope. So if you're going for like a picnic and you're wondering where you can keep your drinks or your food, you can just make one of this and keep whatever you want to keep inside. So when you have stuffs inside, it's gonna look exactly like this. This is a little bit smaller than this. Like I said, all depends on you. Whatever measurement you want to use, you can. So yeah, when you're done, when you have stuffs inside, it's gonna look exactly like this. Yeah, just like this. Okay, so this is what we have for you today. I hope you guys are gonna try to make this and maybe send us a picture or something. And if you have a problem with any of the classes, any of the things that we make, if you're trying to make it and you're stuck somehow, you can just give us a call. Our number is on our flyer, or send us a DM or even an email. We're going to respond to all of that. So thank you guys for watching, and see you again next week Tuesday for another interesting class. Until then, stay safe guys. Cheers. Bye.